Hi guys, good evening. Today we'll be discussing on house sounds. Okay, house sounds. Yeah, at the heart. Where is the heart? Left. So the heart is located at the what? Left side of the body. The heart lies at the left side of the body, particularly at the fourth intercostal space. The apex is situated at the fourth intercostal space. Now, want to know at the heart sounds. Before we look at the heart sound, we already know what's pulmonary circulation. So we already know the pulmonary circulation. In my previous video, I talked about the fetal circulation, how blood flows in the baby's heart, that is the baby inside the uterus. So I differentiated the fetal circulation from the adult circulation. The adult circulation, normally blood from the upper extremity flows through the SVC, that is superior vena cava. Blood from the lower extremities flows through the IVC, that is inferior vena cava. All of them move directly into the right atrium. So on getting into the right atrium, when the pressure in the right atrium increases, there will be contraction. You get? Now that contraction will cause the opening of the atrioventricular valve so that the blood will enter the ventricle. Then from the ventricle, the blood goes directly. There will be opening of the pulmonary valve so that the blood will go to the pulmonary artery. Carry up now. The blood being carried by the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary artery will now divide into different branches, that is the right and left branches, and that deoxygenated blood will now be directed. Sorry, I didn't tell you earlier, is deoxygenated blood because it has to go to the pulmonary vein so that it gets oxygenated. Now on getting to the pulmonary vein artery, it divides into right and left arteries and directed to the lungs so that it gets oxygenated. So within the lungs, the blood gets oxygenated and it will be transported back to the heart through the pulmonary vein. Now you see that the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein are the exception in the vessels of the body. Normally the artery carries oxygenated blood, but the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood as well as the vein. So the vein carries deoxygenated, but the pulmonary vein now carry oxygenated. So the pulmonary vein will carry it back to the left atrium. From the left atrium, there will be opening of the mitral valve, and the blood goes into the left ventricle. Then from the left ventricle, there will be opening of the aortic valve. Then the blood moves directly into the aorta. Then from the aorta, the blood, within the aorta, within the arch of aorta, there is some branching it gives up there at the right and at the left. Then at the right, we have the brachiocephalic trunk, the subclavian artery, and the common carotid artery. Then at the left, we have only the subclavian artery and the common carotid. Through those arteries, the blood at the arch of aorta supplies the head region. Then the descending aorta will now carry the rest of the blood, oxygenated blood, down to the body. Why did I do this? So I will understand when I'll be talking about the heart sound. We understand first of all, we've known the general knowledge of blood flow, that is pulmonary and systemic circulation of the body. So in heart sounds is simply the sound made by the heart during systole and diastole. You understand? So heart sound normally some occur during systole, some occur during diastole. So now it's divided into four. We have the first heart sound, second heart sound, third heart sound, and fourth heart sound. Now heart sounds can be as a result of contraction of blood, it can be as a result of blood flow, it can be as a result of filling of the ventricle, it can be as a result of contraction of the cardiac muscle and all that. Now the first heart sound, what's the first heart sound? The first heart sound is simply as a result of what? The closure of the atrioventricular valve causes the first heart sound. How does this come about? When that deoxygenated blood from the upper and lower extremities enter through the superior and inferior vena cava respectively to the right atrium. Now there will be piling up of blood at the right atrium leading to contraction. So once there is contraction at the right atrium, the blood now moves into the ventricle. Now atrial contraction completes the filling of the ventricle. Now the blood on getting to the ventricle, there will be Now the atrioventricular valve is still open, you understand? Now, and also, now on getting to the ventricle, there will be what? Piling up of blood, also leading to what? Contraction of the ventricle. Now once the contraction of the ventricle occurs, once the ventricle begins to contract, so that there will be release of some blood. Now once it begins to contract, there will be closure of the what? Atrioventricular valve, because that atrioventricular valve is a one-way valve. Blood can flow from the right atrium to the ventricle, but it can't go back. So when this happens, there will be closure of that atrioventricular valve, and also there will be the atrioventricular valve closes, and the what? Semilunar valve also closes. So in this stage now, the first heart sound will be heard immediately, and also because of the closure of the atrioventricular valve and also semilunar valve during contraction, the stage is known as what we call the stage of isovolumetric contraction. So the first heart sound is characterized by is loud, is longer, and is lower pitched, and it can also be best heard at the chest using the bell of the stethoscope. So the second heart sound, won't dwell much on it, is caused by the word closure of the semilunar valve. The third heart sound is the second heart sound. Normally, you see the second heart sound, third heart sound, and fourth heart sound, they normally occur during the diastole. So the closure of the semilunar valve causes the what causes the second heart sound, because now the pressure in the pressure in the large arteries will now overwhelm the pressure in the ventricle. It will now cause the semilunar valve to close. So it leads to this hearing of the second heart sound. Now the third heart sound is when there is ventricular filling. During rapid ventricular filling causes what? The third heart sound. While finally the fourth heart sound is during atrial contraction, normally at the onset of P wave. You understand? So these are the heart sounds we need to know. The first heart sound is by a closure of the AV valve, that is atrioventricular valve. Second heart sound is by the closure of the semilunar valve. Third heart sound is by the during rapid ventricular filling. Fourth heart sound is atrial contraction, normally at the onset of P wave. Thank you very much, guys. These are the heart sounds and some other thing. I'll be popping out more videos on cardiovascular system, and next video we'll talk about the action potential of the SA node and the ventricles. Just stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to my channel and watch my video. I will be making my video simplified in such a way that everybody will understand what I'm talking about. Then if you have questions on the comment section, drop your questions. I'm there. I will be there to answer you, and I will be there to help whichever way I can. I love you guys.